Kelly's Outdoors, now stocked with new firearms. The locals' favorite outdoor superstore. Kelly's Outdoors in Millsboro.
Here's a look at your Delmarva forecast. Highs level off around 61 this afternoon. Under clear skies, northeast winds 8 to 15 miles per hour. Partly cloudy tonight, lows around 35. Cloudy tomorrow, slight chance for showers, high of 65. High temperatures reach up to 72 Monday with a chance for showers. 64, lots of sunshine Tuesday. I'm meteorologist Paul Trombley from the Talk of Delmarva Weather Center, inland. Currently 55.
You're listening to Max Power here on 92.7 WGMD, WGMD.com, and the WGMD app. The Talk of Delmarva.
When I was young, I listened to the radio, waiting for my favorite songs. When they played, I'd sing along. It made me smile. Those were such happy times and not so long ago. How I wondered where they'd gone, but they're back again, just like a long-lost friend. All the songs I love so well, every sha-la-la.
Good morning, Delmarva. My name is Max Power. I'm bringing you back in with the lovely Karen Carpenter and her voice. That's the Carpenters. And I'm going to go straight to the phones. Caller, what's your name? Where you calling from?
I'm the Long Neck Bear. Many-time caller, first-time listener.
Oh, thank you. So what's on your mind?
I got a 2015 bumper and tow accessory
Okay.
kit for...
The flea market's
Hey,
over.
Jeep.
The flea market is over.
Oh, I'm sorry, Max.
That's okay. It's from 10 to
I
11. From 10
apologize,
to 11.
sir.
Call me back next week.
Keep up the-
We'll get it on there.
Keep up the good work, my friend.
All right, thank you very much. All right, well, honest mistake. Hey, caller, what's your name? Where you calling from?
Jack from Milford. How are you today?
Hey, Jack, what's going on? What's on your mind?
I hate to ask you again, but I need the number for the guy that had the Santa Claus for sale.
Oh, Jack, you're going to get it. Hold on one second.
Thank you, sir.
Oh, Jack. His name's Dominic, 302-362-3179.
Hold on just a second. Read that back to me.
302-362-3179.
362-3179.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
All right, have a good one.
Have a good day.
Yep. I'm getting more calls for the flea market now than I was during the flea market. Hey, Grizzly, what's going on, my friend? I bet you're in a good mood.
I am in a good mood, sir.
Absolutely.
I have you on the air. I
And-
listened to two of Delaware's greatest on the air just a few minutes ago. I had Max Power, the trooper, and Julianne Murray, who carries the torch of liberty for us through Delaware.
Absolutely.
And now I'm on the phone with Max. And Max, you said patriotism. I wanted to point out to the people, and I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to do this.
Absolutely.
Tomorrow, November the 10th, is the 249th anniversary of the creation of the United States Marine Corps, of whom Grizzly is dedicated to God and country and the Corps. You're a trooper, Max.
I do my
I
best.
look forward to this every Saturday.
Well, I appreciate it, Grizzly. It's always a pleasure to hear from you. You have a good weekend, sir, and thank you for your service.
My obligation, my honor.
All right, thank you, sir. All right, caller, you'll be the last one. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Calling Andy, calling from Dundalk, Maryland.
Hey, Andy, what's on your mind, my friend?
Hey, I think the biggest story of this election is that we cannot find a mass media we can't find any media that tells the truth to us in this country.
Yeah.
Kamala was the lowest rated public official back in the spring but all of a sudden she's put up for office and she's running neck and neck with Trump, and I don't think she was ever close.
Yeah, it was an
I think they lied to
absolute
us the whole
farce.
time.
Yeah, it was an absolute farce. I agree with you 100%.
Yeah, and I was listening to NBC News at 1:30 a.m. on election night, and you thought they were covering a funeral. It's like they were part of her team or something.
That's what they get. Yeah, I mean, it was just ridiculous. The whole last 4-6 years, however many they've been after Trump, it's all come back to roost, and everyone knows they're lying to them now. So they're trying to gather their eggs and figure out what to do now, but they've already proven they're liars.
That's right. That's what Mike Huckabee said. He said they went to the Acme warehouse, it blew up in their faces, just like Wile E. Coyote.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate the call. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks,
Have a
Mike.
good one. All right. With that being said, well, I still have a minute. I tried. 11:57. I want to thank everybody once again for all your well wishes and your thoughts. I know I asked for no one to say anything, and I appreciate most of you saying nothing. Most of you. But I appreciate all the thoughts and the prayers, so I appreciate it. Keep them coming. And I got one for you too, Joan. I know you asked for one, so I got one for you too. But yeah, it was a great show today. So next week, folks, I need you to call me on the flea market and sell some stuff, okay? Because this week was pathetic. I think I had like 5 or 6 calls. So go through your garages, go through your attics, go through old bedrooms, trying to find some stuff, and give me a call next week between 10 and 11 and sell some stuff for me, okay? Because it's really tough to do that show when you don't have nothing to say. Because all you got to do, you can't talk about the topics because you don't want people calling in about the topics. So go find some stuff to sell, and I'll talk to you all next week, all right? Thank you very much. Coming up next on Industry News Online and on both stations, the WGMD and WUSX, Julianne Murray and Tipping the Scales of Justice. She'll be taking all of your phone calls. If you don't if you want to type in a question for her, just go to Industry News Online and they'll take care of you. You're listening to WGMD 92.7, 98.5, the Talk of Delmarva.
Bombadita, 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 happy trails to you, bombadita, bombadita.
WGMD Rehoboth Beach and 98.5 WUSX Seaford, the Talk of Delmarva.
Assembling a team. I'm Paul Stevens, Fox News. The search for the second Trump administration cabinet is on. Fox's Chanley Painter.
President-elect Trump's transition team already vetting potential candidates to fill his cabinet come January. A source to Fox Digital confirming that Representative Mike Rogers serves as the chairman of the Armed Services Committee has been contacted by Trump's team for the Secretary of Defense position. Other potential candidates include Florida Representative Mike Walz and former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, but Florida Senator Marco Rubio and Tennessee Senator Bill Hagerty are likely contenders for Secretary of State, while North Dakota Governor Doug Burgum is reportedly being considered for head of the Department of Energy.
And the president-elect has also picked Susie Wiles to be his chief of staff. She was a major player in both of his election campaigns. A win for Democrats in Nevada, but there could also be a sweep in store for President-elect Donald Trump.
Jackie Rosen wins election to a U.S. Senate seat in Nevada. Rosen fending off a fierce challenge from Republican Sam Brown, the Democrat campaigning on lowering costs for the middle class, defending abortion rights, and tackling the climate crisis. Meantime, President-elect Trump now has won Nevada, putting 6 more electoral votes in his column. It's the first time Republicans carried the state since 2004 when President George W. Bush won. Chris DeMeo, Fox News.
And coming up next, Arizona, where there are still hundreds of thousands of ballots that need to be counted. Iran denying involvement in President-elect Donald Trump's assassination plot. Iran's foreign ministry dismissing a report released by the Justice Department on Friday that criminal complaint says an official in Iran's Revolutionary Guard instructed a contact to put together a plan to surveil and ultimately kill Mr. Trump. America's listening to Fox News.
Update from your local news source, 92.7 and 98.5 WGMD, the talk of Delmarva.
After Tuesday's election, the Delaware State House has elected its new leadership. I'm Mary Lou in the newsroom for the Talk of Delmarva. On Friday afternoon, the Delaware House Republican Caucus selected its leaders for the 153rd General Assembly, which began on Election Day. Laurel's Tim Dukes was elected as House Minority Leader, and 11th District Representative Jeff Spiegelman was chosen as the House Minority Whip. House Democratic Caucus has selected Representative Melissa Minor Brown as the Speaker-elect, Representative Carrie Evelyn Harris as the House Majority Leader, and Representative Ed Osienski as House Majority Whip. The House Speaker will be elected by the full House. That takes place the first day of the session on January 14th. The State Senate Democratic Caucus has also nominated their leadership. Senator Dave Sokola has been nominated as the President pro tempore, and they have re-elected Brian Townsend as the Senate Majority Leader and Elizabeth Tizzy Lockman as the Senate Majority Whip. A formal leadership election for the Senate President pro tempore will take place among the full Senate when it reconvenes for extraordinary session on Monday, December 16th. The Senate Republican Caucus has not yet met. They will meet November 21st. President Biden is spending the weekend in Rehoboth Beach at his North Shores Beach House. He arrived on Marine One Friday evening and will be leaving again on Sunday afternoon. The president has no public schedule today. However, he will likely attend a church service. And a dozen suspects have now been arrested in connection with an assault of a man in mid-October at an off-campus apartment for college-age students at Salisbury University. All 12 face charges of first-degree assault, false imprisonment, reckless endangering, and hate crime offenses.
WGMD AccuWeather.
Mostly partly sunny skies for the rest of the afternoon, then increasing clouds tonight with a low of 36 to 48. For Sunday, mostly cloudy skies, a chance for some showers mainly at night with a high of 63. And for Monday, milder with partial sunshine and a high of 70. I'm Mary Lou for 92.7 and 98.5, the Talk of Delmarva. In 2025, ClearSpace Theater turns 21. This new season will be full of fresh beginnings, new promises, new potential, and new opportunity. The new season includes 13 productions, starting with Dial M for Murder. Other shows include Beetlejuice Jr., Reefer Madness, Annie, A Christmas Carol, Hairspray, and Rent. ClearSpace Theater also has classes for all ages and experience levels, summer camps, and more. For more information, go to the community calendar under the Extras tab at thetalkofdelmarva.com.
Win an all-expenses-paid trip for two to Tuscany, Italy to benefit the Rehoboth Foodie Touch of Italy Scholarship Fund. Includes airfare, plus skip-the-line access to tours and attractions, a cooking class, and $1,000 cash in your pocket. The winner will be drawn on My Beach Eats show on Saturday, January 4th on 92.7 FM. Only 450 tickets will be sold, so get yours now at ItalianRaffle.com.
Good afternoon, Delmarva. This is Tipping the Scales of Justice with Julianne Murray. I am live in studio. For those of you that aren't familiar with Tipping the Scales of Justice, this is a weekly show on Saturdays between 12 and 2 that is hosted by yours truly. I am a Delaware attorney that gives up a couple of hours to take your legal questions. This is your opportunity to get the answer to that legal question that has been on your mind. Don't be shy if you have a question. I promise I won't bite, and I can almost guarantee that if you have that question, somebody else has it, so you're actually helping out yourself and somebody else by calling in. What are the numbers? 302-945-9292 or toll-free 800-518-9292. You can also watch me live on IndustryNewsOnline.com. You can submit questions electronically on this site. For you regulars out there, you know that every time I do this show, we do something called disclaimers. These disclaimers are in everybody's best interest so that there is no confusion about how we do things on this show. Here we go.
If you ask your question to Tipping the Scales of Justice, you are not establishing an attorney-client relationship. This show is designed to be a public service where general legal questions can be answered. You may be asked specific questions so that the attorneys can better answer your question, but that does not mean they have become your attorney. Please be mindful that we are trying to get as many callers as possible, so please limit yourself to one question per call. If the attorneys don't know an answer, they aren't going to fake their way through it. The attorneys are going to tell you if they are unsure, and they are going to find the answer. As professionals, they have reference materials available, but might have to find the answers off air and then provide the information later in the show. If you hear us say that we should talk off the air, take the hint that there is something either too specific or too juicy to tie up the airwaves. They will get your contact information off air and follow up at a later date.
The show, their phone numbers again, 302-945-9292 or 800-518-9292. You can also go online to IndustryNewsOnline.com and submit questions electronically. I have no digital questions on the board right now, so feel free to go ahead and do that, but I do believe I have some on the line. So caller, what's your name and where are you calling from? You're on the air. What's your name?
Ronnie from Lewis.
Hey, Ronnie, how can I help you?
Okay, a couple of weeks ago, my wife and I were in a local appliance store purchasing a appliance to the tune of about $2,400. It was mid-afternoon. The place closed early. We used our credit card to make the purchase. But over the weekend, we decided that appliance wasn't the one that we wanted. So I sent an email to the salesperson on Sunday, and naturally they're not there. But Monday morning, they got back to me, and what I'd said in the email was we want to see about changing the order, and they kind of dug their heels in and said, well, this has already been ordered, and you'd be subject to maybe a 30% restocking fee, and we just trying to find out. We did put in a credit card dispute, but we're trying to figure out really where we stand with this.
When you guys placed the order at the local appliance store, what was it over the weekend? Did you say it was Saturday?
Yes.
Okay, so Saturday you make the purchase, and Saturday night realize this isn't quite what we want, and Sunday email them, and they're telling you on Monday that they had already ordered it and that you would be subject to a restocking fee.
Basically, yeah.
Okay, that's...
And they said we couldn't cancel the contract.
Okay, that's pretty aggressive. It comes down to the contract. Okay, so a lot of them have a form that you're signing that says any changes, you're going to be subject to a restocking fee. I mean, those could be there in the small print. Do you have a copy of the receipt? Do you know whether you actually signed something that agreed to that?
Well, it does say something about a restocking fee, but it also says once the product has hit the warehouse, no changes can be made. Well,
there you
if
go.
It's on the truck, it certainly hasn't hit the warehouse.
Well, and I don't believe it was even on the truck. I'm with you on this one. I think that if you had, if this was done on Saturday and they're telling you that they have already moved it and it's, so the fact that the receipt says that once it hits the warehouse, there's no changes, I think you push back on this. I would also go through with disputing the credit card. So it sounds to me like how you started was not we want a refund, it was we want to make a change. And they said, sure, yeah, you can do that, but you're going to get charged 30%, which is absolutely ridiculous when you made this, you made a change in a day over the weekend. With the credit card dispute, that will cancel the order. So I think what you do when you lodge it with the credit card company, you tell them, I mean, you have to give them a copy of the receipt. You have to say that they will charge a restocking fee once it hits the warehouse. We have a hard time believing that it's hit the warehouse when it was a weekend and there's only been a day basically in between. Right. And then if they still, I mean, I think you do dig in on this and push them. And if they will not move on it and you're really stuck with it, there is something called the court of public opinion, man. And I think that, I mean, you can do stuff that is truthful. I'm not saying you say anything untruthful because you don't want to get into a trick bag on that.
No,
but you
I
can,
don't want to do that.
Yeah,
That's
you
why
can
I
go
use
on
terms.
Say that again. I couldn't hear you.
Hello.
No.
I was trying to be kind of vague about, I didn't give a specific store or anything like that. I didn't want to do anything like that.
I hear you. But I'm saying only do that as a last resort. Basically, that, I mean, if you get stuck with this $2,400 appliance that you didn't want, then you, I mean, I think the credit card dispute's a good way to go. And then they're not going to deliver the appliance to you, and then you can get what you want. What you don't want to do is go buy one somewhere else until you know that you've got this one cleared up. But I think that you start out reasonable, and I'm not saying that you've been unreasonable so far, and say to them, look, this is ridiculous. The receipt says hits the warehouse. This is, show me that it hit the warehouse on Sunday, because I would really like to see that.
So
Go ahead.
Is there anything like a buyer's remorse law in the state of Delaware?
No.
You have 72 hours?
With not really. I mean, there's lemon laws, there's right of rescission in real property and things like that, but generally, no. On a consumer good like this, no. There's not. So that's why I'm saying that the credit card is the best way to, or the credit card dispute is the best way. But I think you take one more shot at the appliance store and say, this is a small, I mean, that you're being unreasonable here. We didn't say we wanted a refund. We said we were willing to continue to spend the money in your store. We notified you within 24 hours over a weekend, and it's unreasonable to charge a 30% restocking fee, and see what happens with it.
Okay. Is there any chance that they could take us to court?
Depends. So I mean, if they get paid, then no, they can't. If you do the credit card dispute and they don't get paid, and they don't deliver the appliance, I think it's highly unlikely that they would take you to court, because they're really not out anything. It's so incredibly unlikely that that's going to happen.
And we have not taken the delivery on anything from them.
Correct.
So, okay. Well, thank you for your time. It was I always enjoy your show, and it was good talking to you. Thank you so much.
All right, thanks, Ronnie. I appreciate the call. I know I have another caller, but I'm right at that quarter hour, so I'm going to hop away. So hang on for me. We'll be right back. You are listening to 92.7 and 98.5, and that is the Talk of Delmarva.
I'm Tom Holmes, 1776 Steakhouse in Rehoboth Beach. The restaurant's been here since 1987. I've had it since 2007. I get probably 2-3 customers a night that will come in and say, I heard you on the radio and it sounded great, and we're so happy that you're advertising locally with local businesses. I used to do very limited advertising, just a little bit on newspapers and billboards and stuff like that, but now I'm pretty much exclusively just with the radio station. I advertise on Rehoboth Foodie Bob's show, and I also advertise different segments and different times during the course of the week. I've been pretty much with the same schedule for maybe about 10 years. I'm just happy I am advertising with them. They've been very loyal to us, and the feedback I get from my customers about the radio station is tremendous.
I'm Keith Pettit, an assistant manager here at Southern States Milford Cooperative in Milford, Delaware. My experience with WGMD radio station, Talk of Delmarva, has been outstanding. We do our once monthly radio show here in our showroom, and we instantly see results of people coming in that day and the following day and the weeks after saying, I heard about this on WGMD, the Talk of Delmarva. And not just at a close local level within a few miles, but it brings customers in from a fair distance to come and check out the products that we've talked about through the radio station advertising. But in my estimation, WGMD is the best talk radio station on Delmarva. People are in tune to hanging on every word that that station says, and that transfers to the advertisers. The people that listen to WGMD listen to our advertisements word for word, and they know what they're looking for when they come in here as a result. I just think they're phenomenal. They do a great job.
My name is Karen. My husband and I own Captain's Pizza. We have been here for over 6 years, going on 7. We only advertise with WGMD, and we love it. They really help us with anything that we need. They always have good suggestions. They help me with the commercials. Advertising has helped our business tremendously. We do get a lot of people that come in and want to know who is talking on the radio, and I'm always here, so I'm always happy to say that it's me. We participate with Delmarva Dollars. A lot of customers bring them in. We have customers that ask when they're going to have them again if they don't hear it on the radio. We tried advertising in the newspaper and things like that, but we see more of a showing with the Delmarva Dollars. And the customers, they ask me, where else do we advertise? And I tell them, we only advertise with WGMD. We've been very successful with them. We get exactly what we ask for, and it's well worth the money that we invest in it.
Since 1980, WGMD Radio has been your local hometown station with everything from music to news to sports. We know a thing or two about community and longevity. The Talk of Delmarva is proud to be partnered with the White Marlin Open and congratulates them on 50 years.
Welcome back to Tipping the Scales of Justice. Julianne Murray live in studio. Phone numbers 302-945-9292 or 800-518-9292. You can also go online to industrynewsonline.com and submit electronic questions. Let's go to the phone lines. You are on the air. Caller, what's your name and where are you calling from?
Good afternoon, Julianne. This is Bob in Lewis.
Hey, Bob.
And, I thought this is a legal question from a legal perspective. Can you tell your listeners that your opinion about whether the elections this past Tuesday in Delaware across the state, and there may be differences across the state, were actually fair? And if you're at liberty, is anything popping to mind that there are significant possibilities that one or more statewide and Senate and or representative, the districts were actually flipped by the party that's now almost has total 100% control of this state. Forgetting the wonderfully happy outcome across the United States, Delaware is appearing to me to become a legal mess because I'm not confident about the courts, and I'm certainly not confident about the election, the Department of Elections, the way elections are conducted. So, can you share an opinion on that? I'd love to hear you say, no, I think the elections were fair, and that's just the way it is.
I'm sure you would love to hear me say that. Okay, so there's a couple of different things. I mean, so we watched things a lot more closely this election. So I'm very, very happy with the war room that we had up in Wilmington, where we had a hotline that people called into. There were things that happened that we were able to deal with immediately. And with phone calls to the Department of Elections, people who were having problems voting. None of that was fraudulent, but just in terms of regular old problems that happened, we were able to deal with them. And we definitely made our presence known. I heard that when they did the poll worker training for the state, for the people who were working, they were told not to, quote, worry about challengers, because we never have challengers, and we had challengers. And so we had inspectors that were not happy to have challengers there, that we had to push back on. I was absolutely emailing or speaking with Anthony Albans all day long about particular people that were pushing back against our challengers. So we watched the store, and I think that was incredibly helpful. And and I think that when we got to the end of the night, there had not been any what I'm going to call widespread problem like we had in 22, where we had 15 polling places run out of ballots and stuff like that. That said, I think that the numbers in terms of the differentials between the winners and losers, and I hate using the people who won and the people who didn't win, were surprisingly large, and so we have to really. And I'm not saying there's something that happened there, but I'm just saying kind of anecdotally what we could see was what we were hearing from people didn't play out in the numbers. Now, Wednesday morning, we did have an issue pop up. And in Kent County, the Register of Wills row office, the Register of Wills election, Colin Bonini versus DJ Cox, on Wednesday morning, Colin was winning by 429 votes, and by Wednesday at noon, 3,300 absentee ballots were added, and it actually flipped the election. It also flipped the winner of the governor race by county from Mike Ramone to Matt Meyer. Those are the only two that I know were directly affected by these 3,300 ballots. I called and emailed the Commissioner of Elections and said, I need to understand why 16 hours later we have such a huge number coming in absentee ballots. He responded and said that because there were what are called undervotes, overvotes, or write-ins. Undervotes mean that people only voted for certain offices and elected not to vote for certain offices. Overvotes are where people fill in more than one blank for a particular office, and then write-ins, we know what those are. Because there were undervotes, overvotes, and write-ins, they required hand processing, meaning that they had Department of Elections had to have two people, one from the Republican Party, one who's a registered Republican and one who's a registered Democrat, look at these ballots and hand process them. My response was 3,300. I mean, the total now in Kent County is 5,700, and you're telling me 3,300 had to be hand touched? And so I actually wrote a complaint Wednesday night, so I loved it when people were like, oh, are you rested and excited? I have not had a moment of rest. I wrote a complaint on Wednesday night so that Colin could lodge it at the Board of Elections Thursday morning, and basically lodged it. They made all the parties aware. Long story short, they did a recount yesterday. Recount, changed it by 20, 30 votes. They certified. So I've reached out to the commissioner and said, we need to have a sit down. I need to understand what procedurally with the absentee ballots, why there would be such a high number that had to be hand processed. Are all the counties the same? Why wasn't it a public session? I have a lot of questions about it that I need answered. And and it's important. I told everybody that election integrity is important. We put our money where our mouth was. That's kind of tongue in cheek because we don't have a lot of money, but we put our bodies where our mouths were. And we're going to find out the answers to this and put things in place. We have been able to exert influence on the Department of Elections. They've now agreed that they're going to audit, when they do the post-election audits, they're going to audit the absentee and early voting as well as election day voting, which is something that they previously had not done. These are random, so I'm going to continue to kind of dig in on this. Long answer to what you're saying. So there's been improvement, but is it 100% okay? No.
Real quick, how many people who are not U.S. citizens voted, and also how many people who no longer live here and were not eligible, but they still their names are still registered, were cast by the other party? Is there any way for you to tell that? Do you think is that a significant factor in this state?
I do not know. And I do know, I mean, in terms of people who no longer live here, we put a heck of amount of resources into purging those voter rolls and getting people kicked off and removed thousands of people. There's more work. There's more work to be done. We didn't have enough time and enough bodies to get everything done. But I mean, the difference now is the structure is in place at the party level to tackle this stuff now. And instead of, and so we have 2 years or 18 months, it's 2 years till the next election, but 18 months to continue with what we started in 23 and 24 in terms of those voter rolls. But I do not have an answer for whether we had non-U.S. citizens voting. I do not know.
And no chance of flipping the ballots electronically after they were cast. In other words, I know we don't have Dominion, but I think you said that's similar to Dominion. The machines are similar to Dominion, and I'm sure there's no chance of going back to a paper ballots unless at the federal level the new president will do that. And I hope. Is there any movement within any one party to force paper ballots and hand counting of them? Because that is the simple answer to preventing the flipping, by the electronic machines.
It is.
So I hope you're going to try to do that?
Yep.
Okay, great. Well, I feel better. I was obviously disappointed with the Delaware results, but that's an issue for you, and I hope you do what you want. I'd rather see you in the governor's chair than as the head of the Republican Party, but I think you're doing what you think is best for the state, and whatever you decide will work for me. So thank you so much. As I always say, you're one of my greatest heroes. So
thanks, Bob. I appreciate that.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
Bye-bye.
Right, let's go to, I know I've got another caller. Caller, what's your name and where are you calling from?
Hi, Julianne.
Hey, Joan.
What an unmitigated mess, huh?
No doubt.
And I want to tell you, I don't envy you in the least. And you're the kind of person who tries so hard, but someday you'll get your reward along with the rest of us. And real quick, my question for the day is: do you think that Donald Trump will pardon Hunter, or do you think maybe possibly Joe Biden will pardon Trump, even though Trump didn't do anything wrong? I mean, have you heard anything, or is there any scoop on anything that you can talk about?
I think Joe Biden's going to pardon Hunter.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's coming. He is supposed to be sentenced in November sometime in the the gun case here in Delaware, and the California case. He pled, but has not been sentenced. I think Daddy is 100% going to pardon him, and there is nothing to stop him from doing that. There's no, the presidential pardon power is incredibly strong, and there's nothing in there that says you can't pardon your kid. The Democrat Party got their, what's handed to them, and so he is absolutely going to take care of business at home, and I think he's going to pardon Hunter, and so it's not going to be an issue of whether Trump would do that or not. I know that there was something.
How about January 6th people? Do you think President Trump will be able to pardon them,
yes,
or do you have any idea?
I do. And if you want to hang on, you can, but I'm happy to continue to talk about this, but you know what that music means. You are listening to 92.7 and 98.5, and that is the talk of Delmarva.
Hi, I'm Mary Beth Hutton from Rehoboth Beach Running Company. We've been in this location for about 8 years, and we've been in business for about 16 years. We're pretty much busy every day, all year round now. Since we've been advertising with the Talk of Delmarva, everywhere we go, people seem to know about us. I like working with other small businesses. We work with a lot of small businesses, and advertising is no different. And we like for people to come in and actually see our store. Yeah. So when, people from the Talk of Delmarva have seen our store, they understand it better. Some of their other customers shop at our store, and it's really a small town kind of life. And people shop local, advertise local, listen to the local radio. It all kind of comes full circle. So how has the marketing department helped us? Well, I love that she's always looking ahead at the calendar, because as a small business person, I'm very busy and I'm kind of thinking of last minute things. And so Laura's always ready for the sidewalk sale. She knows it's a big deal for us. And so you want to get the word out a little bit early. And the sidewalk sale this year was better than ever. And I think it's in great part to Laura's planning and the commercials, so people know that the whole town is having a sidewalk sale and that we have big sales at that time of year. I didn't really know what to expect in the beginning, because I didn't know whether she'd know our business. I don't know if she would know runners and but she listens very carefully, and she researches, and she really tries to gear our ads towards our business, and she does an excellent job. I think people really more now than ever want to shop local. I think people want to support local businesses and help the community. And so when people know that we are a small business that meets their needs, they'd rather shop here than go online or some other way. So I think people really want to help themselves and help the community. We have attracted our ideal customer at the Talk of Delmarva. We service people from, 12 years old or even younger to 95-year-olds. So yeah, I think our ads are doing a great job of bringing customers to us. The Talk of Delmarva advertising has helped with our marathon also. So I organized the Rehoboth Marathon and Half Marathon in December, and we sell out earlier and earlier every year. And I think that's due in part to advertising with the Talk of Delmarva. The people know that we have a running store and that we also have this big race at a great time of year, and people sign up earlier and earlier every year. I really do believe that the return on investment is huge. I think we definitely got return on our investment quickly. Every dollar spent was well worth it. I would highly recommend for other businesses to advertise on the Talk of Delmarva. It's been a great experience for us. It's been very worthwhile, and I would highly recommend it to other businesses.
I'm Tom Holmes, 1776 Steakhouse in Rehoboth Beach. The restaurant's been here since 1987. I've had it since 2007. I get probably 2-3 customers a night that will come in and say, I heard you on the radio and it sounded great, and we're so happy that you're advertising locally with local businesses. I used to do very limited advertising, just a little bit on newspapers and billboards and stuff like that, but now I'm pretty much exclusively just with the radio station. I advertise on Rehoboth Foodie Bob's show, and I also advertise different segments and different times during the course of the week. I've been pretty much with the same schedule for maybe about 10 years. I'm just happy I am advertising with them. They've been very loyal to us, and the feedback I get from my customers about the radio station is tremendous.
92.7. Follow us on Twitter at WGMD Radio. And of course, find us on the web, WGMD.com.
Welcome back to Tipping the Scales of Justice. Julianne Murray live in studio. We're in our second half hour. Phone numbers 302-945-9292 or 800-518-9292. You can also go online to industrynewsonline.com. Real quick, we have somebody who's actually listening in Australia. So hi, Chantel. It says, hi, Julianne. I'm not sure if I just deleted my comment. Checking in from Australia. Really love listening to your show. It's very educational. You are awesome. Thank you so much for what you do. Such a relief Trump made it. So Chantel, shout out to you. Yeah, we actually have people in Australia that are listening to this show. Can't make this stuff up. Let's go to the phone lines. Caller, what's your name and where are you calling from?
My name's Ronnie from Bethany.
Hey, Ronnie, you are on the air. What's up?
Number one, I was hoping you would run again for governor or defeat Chris Coons. Number two, what do you think about Jack Smith, Letitia James, and Fannie Willis with these charges? And number three, callers need to, line their questions up and stop going, like, can you talk? Can you ask a question? Write it down. Figure it out.
That's a little harsh, Ronnie. As I for a second, not everybody is comfortable talking on the radio, but I hear what you're saying, and there's a reason for people to script and not necessarily look like they're reading, but I get your point. In terms of my running again, and there's another for you, unlikely. The AG race of 26 is out there for sure.
We miss you, girl.
Pardon me?
We miss you, girl.
Well, I appreciate that.
We need you, girl.
Yeah, and I have zero interest in running for U.S. Senate for Chris Coons' seat. If I were ever going to run again, it would be for a statewide, and I really wanted to be the AG.
He's
Kathy
another
Jennings
scumbag commie we need to get rid of.
Well, and she does not have term limits, so to be determined whether she's going to run again or whether somebody else is. We'll see.
Well, if you have a question, just write it down and read it. You don't have to be like like you can't talk like you're retarded. Like, what is going on with our party?
Do I need to say anything here? Because you're rolling with it. In terms of Fani Willis and all of the lawfare, Jack Smith has already basically canceled the scheduling order. Says they're going to think about what they're doing. They're going to drop those charges. I would
fire all of them immediately.
Well, it's not quite that simple. There's a difference between federal and state. Jack Smith can absolutely be fired. His funding will be cut off immediately. Letitia James, a little bit different. She is the Attorney General for the state of New York. She is a totally different animal.
What do you think else is going on with Georgia?
Say that again. What about what's going on with Georgia?
What do you think will happen with the case in Georgia with Fani Willis?
It's going to go away. I think it is. I mean, it's a state case, but I think that he's the president-elect, and it is. I think it's going away. But we'll see what happens.
I've seen Letitia James the other day in New York, and she was acting like, nah, we're not going to quit. They're going to keep attacking him until the end.
She's going to continue to do that. And here's the difference, though. So the case in Georgia, regardless of whether it's state law or federal law, once Trump is sworn in, that case just stops. You're not going to criminally charge a sitting U.S. president. The Letitia James case, and likewise, that's why Judge Merchan in New York is considering dismissing the case. Because remember, Trump's supposed to be sentenced in another couple weeks.
And likewise, Julianne, likewise in Maryland, Jamie Raskin, they already got plans to set up to impeach him.
They are not going to be successful in that. And Jamie Raskin's running his trap about how they're also not going to certify the election. So we'll see what happens. I mean, everybody is wise to what these people are all about. But
well, thank God you're out there, baby.
Yep. All right. So let me get to my next caller. I very much appreciate the call, Ronnie. As always, take care.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Let's go to our next caller. Caller, what's your name and where are you calling from?
This is Joanne from Georgetown.
Hey, Joanne. How can I help you today?
I had a question which I had said to Jake, and he didn't really remember it, and I know that this was an unconstitutional resolution, but the Democrats don't care about whether they put forth constitutional or unconstitutional resolutions. But after one of the more recent elections, either 22 or 20, there was a pact among mid-Atlantic states like Delaware, Pennsylvania, Maryland, and I don't know if New Jersey was involved, but they were going to say that they were going to send their electors to the Electoral College based on whoever won the popular vote. Mm-hmm. And obviously we haven't heard anything about it because the Democrats were counting on sending their electors if Harris won the Democratic popular vote. Right. But I thought it was interesting that I haven't heard anything about it, whereas it was a past resolution whenever they were reporting it in the past few years.
All right, let me update you on it. It wasn't just the Mid-Atlantic. It's called the National Popular Vote Act or something along those lines. There are a bunch of states that have passed this. It requires 36 of them. And right now, at last count, this happened it was after the 20 election, I'm pretty sure. Delaware did pass the act, but it has, I'm going to call it a reverse sunset provision in it. And when Delaware signed on, we were state number 20 or thereabouts. But in the language, so it passed the General Assembly, but the language says this doesn't kick in until there's enough states for this to happen. But what it's about is it's a roundabout way to try and take away the Electoral College. So I actually had people reach out to me Tuesday night or Wednesday and say, hey, this passed. So the Trump elector or the Delaware electors go to Trump because he passed the popular or he won the popular vote. Unless something changed when they passed this act, it had the provision that it couldn't happen until we were at the 36 state mark. But you're right, there's not very much going on. They ain't talking about it because they never in a million years thought that a Republican would, and particularly Trump, would win the popular vote. But individual states are talking about it. But I will tell you, if it ever comes into play here in Delaware, like if this, it will be challenged. It is absolutely unconstitutional for a state to try and change the federal Electoral College. It absolutely flies in the face of why the Electoral College was created in the first place. And it will, but we can't challenge it until it takes effect because it's not what's called ripe.
Well, thank you for relieving my concerns and informing me and educating me and the rest of the public on this proposition. Thank you very much.
Not a problem. I appreciate the question very much. Take care, Joanne. Have a good day. All right, let's go to our phone lines. Caller, what's your name and where are you calling from? You are on the air. Oh, it looks like the call dumped. Okay, so let's look at, I have a digital question here, and that is from Paul in Maryland. Julianne, why is it in 2020 Fox and other networks barely waited for the polls to close before handing Arizona to Biden, but this year it's taking forever to count the vote for Senate? Is Arizona the new Pennsylvania? Great question. Now, I do think it's laughable on election night this year how long the networks, with the exception of Newsmax, waited to call the race for Trump. And it's because they made a mistake in 2020 in terms of how they were calling the election. So they were super careful to wait until it was absolutely locked down that the electoral votes were being awarded the way that they were. In terms of what's happening in Arizona, there is, and here's the good news, everybody, there is going to be a new recorder, I'm going to call it recorder of deeds, for lack of a better word. It's not quite, it's recorder of elections in Maricopa County. The current guy lost. He's still in office, and he is a problem. They released something yesterday on social media where he is on tape or on recorded saying that he hates Kari Lake. He's doing everything he can to make her life awful. I mean, all sorts of things. Not going to get him fired, but what it is it's shining a light on it. We have so many lawyers on the ground in Arizona right now in all of the different counties where there's a problem in one of the counties, Apache County, but Harmeet Dillon's law firm was there through Wednesday. They've left people there. The RNC has assets on the ground in Arizona because there are so many ballots. And interestingly, the Senate race in Arizona is getting closer and closer as each county, these what they're calling ballot drops, where the provisional ballots, which by the way, provisional ballots are only about federal elections, so that's why they're so significant, verifying the registration. And there is a provision in Nevada, Arizona, in several states where there's a period to cure ballots where people didn't fill them out right. There's something that's wrong with the ballot. Turning Point is on the ground in Arizona right now, going door to door, curing ballots. We have a heck of an operation going on in Arizona right now. So yes, something has to change. Arizona, this cannot continue where there's this waiting days and days. I mean, Nevada, Sam Brown was winning until yesterday. Now Jackie Rosen has been declared the winner in Nevada, which completely stinks. We still have the Senate majority, so don't everybody flip out about it. But it's, that was a race that I was really hoping was going to go our way. But yeah, I mean, the federal, it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out because Trump has power over federal elections. But at the end of the day, state elections are state law. And so we're going to have to figure out how it's going to push. So very much appreciate the question. I know I've got a couple of callers, but it's that quarter hour thing again. So hang on for me. You are listening to 92.7 and 98.5, and that is the Talk of Delmarva.
I'm Tom Holmes, 1776 Steakhouse in Rehoboth Beach. The restaurant's been here since 1987. I've had it since 2007. I get probably 2-3 customers a night that will come in and say, I heard you on the radio and it sounded great and we're so happy that you're advertising locally with local businesses. I used to do very limited advertising, just a little bit on newspapers and billboards and stuff like that, but now I'm pretty much exclusively just with the radio station. I advertise on Rehoboth Foodie Bob's show, and I also advertise different segments and different times during the course of the week. I've been pretty much with the same schedule for maybe about 10 years. I'm just happy I am advertising with them. They've been very loyal to us, and the feedback I get from my customers about the radio station is tremendous.
I'm Keith Pettit, an assistant manager here at Southern States Milford Cooperative in Milford, Delaware. My experience with WGMD radio station, Talk of Delmarva, has been outstanding. We do our once monthly radio show here in our showroom, and we instantly see results of people coming in that day and the following day and the weeks after saying, I heard about this on WGMD, the Talk of Delmarva. And not just at a close local level within a few miles, but it brings customers in from a fair distance to come and check out the products that we've talked about through the radio station advertising. But in my estimation, WGMD is the best talk radio station on Delmarva. People are in tune to hanging on every word that that station says, and that transfers to the advertisers. The people that listen to WGMD listen to our advertisements word for word, and they know what they're looking for when they come in here as a result. I just think they're phenomenal. They do a great job.
My name is Karen. My husband and I own Captain's Pizza. We have been here for over 6 years, going on 7. We only advertise with WGMD, and we love it. They really help us with anything that we need. They always have good suggestions. They help me with the commercials. Advertising has helped our business tremendously. We do get a lot of people that come in and want to know who is talking on the radio, and I'm always here, so I'm always happy to say that it's me. We participate with Delmarva Dollars. A lot of customers bring them in. We have customers that ask when they're going to have them again if they don't hear it on the radio. We tried advertising in the newspaper and things like that, but we see more of a showing with the Delmarva Dollars. And the customers, they ask me, where else do we advertise? And I tell them, we only advertise with WGMD. We've been very successful with them. We get exactly what we ask for, and it's well worth the money that we invest in it.
Since 1980, WGMD Radio has been your local hometown station with everything from music to news to sports. We know a thing or two about community and longevity. The Talk of Delmarva is proud to be partnered with the White Marlin Open and congratulates them on 50 years.
Welcome back to Tipping the Scales of Justice. Julianne Murray, live in studio. Let's go to the phone lines. You are on the air. Caller, what's your name and where are you calling from?
Hey, Julianne, Joe from Cape May, just chiming in.
Hey.
Good work, by the way, for all those people that run the ground. And I had heard, like, a few weeks ago, and it just, up until maybe 2 weeks ago after I heard that, I was just like, kept thinking to myself, why would Trump put himself through this? And then when Laura Trump came out and said on Fox News, I believe it was, the ground game, I said that's why he's doing it. But I still had that little feeling, because he's going to win, he's going to win. And then, anyhow, I got over that. And it's a good week. It's a great week for all of us. But I got a comment on what the caller said about the people going, does he remember 2016 to 2000? God, how long was he president? He was president for 8 years. And that's all he ever did. Obama. He did that for 8 years. He sounded like a retard.
2008 to 2016.
2008. And that guy, and then does he remember what Kamala Harris did? Yeah. She couldn't even speak. And he talked about Republicans. Give me a break. That guy was a Democrat all the way, through and through. Come on.
Yeah,
but anyhow, I just wanted to say that if anybody stutters, nobody stutters more than Obama. And Kamala, she can't even read. That's why she didn't win. And she, by the way, did you know she had to pay Oprah $1 million?
Yep.
Yeah,
Oprah, who was in this because it was the most important thing for her to make sure that she called Trump a dictator and that we were going to lose. This could be the last election where people had voting rights. Got paid $1 million. Yeah, I know. That's awesome.
This is really actually a great week because I think that in 28 that we have a good bench. We have Ron DeSantis. We have
J.D. Vance.
There's a few guys out there, but we have a good bench. Where if you look at their bench, it's weak. It's very weak.
Yeah,
but anyhow,
well, and the thing that I'm excited about, and I've said it when I was talking to Max on my way in, is that the way that we've had to really suffer the past 4 years, but as a result of that, we're going to get the trifecta. Having the House, the Senate, and the presidency, and Trump is not looking for re-election because he's not eligible, so he can do what he needs to do, and he's gonna do it. I think that we have a heck of an opportunity here, and I think everybody's excited about what's going to happen. I mean, look at what's happened just this week in terms of, he's not sworn in yet, but all of a sudden Russia is like, oh yeah, maybe we can talk peace. Hamas, all of the world stage changes that have happened are interesting. Okay. Oh, I just got a signal. That call went away. Sorry. Thanks, Joe, for weighing in. Caller, let's go to the phone lines again. Caller, what's your name and where are you calling from?
It's Ronnie from Bethany one last time. I just want to say, if you have a question, write it down. If you want to say something, write it down. You don't have to be like you can't talk. Like take a speech class or do something or write your question down. Don't be stupid, man. These people want us to be stupid, and we have to be smarter than that. That's all I'm saying.
All right, Ronnie. I got you, and I appreciate what you're saying, but thanks for the call. Do I have any other callers on the board? Okay, so caller, what's your name and where are you calling from?
I think it might be me. Is that me, Frank?
You are on the air. What's your name?
Frank, can you hear me?
I can hear you, Frank. So how can I help you today?
I think there is a clause with a contract clause, a 3-day. I thought I remember seeing that written for Delaware as 3-day business day clause, rescinding the contract.
Okay, I'll look.
I just don't have the knowledge to cite the law. But
okay, well, for those that are, and this is in reference to Ronnie from Lewis, who called at the beginning about the appliance that he bought. I'll look at the top of the hour when I have a couple minutes. I do know that we certainly have some consumer protection statutes out there. I just did not think that there was one that was related to, like, I think there's a dollar limit or something that related to consumer goods. But I'll look for it.
There could be, Julianne. And did New York? The gentleman brought up New York, Letitia James. Did New York, the people vote in that the something to do with the athletics, that the boys can be in the girls?
I don't know. So this week, obviously, so focused on the national elections. Lots of states had resolutions and different stuff. I don't know whether that happened in New York, and I don't know whether it was New York State, New York City. But I honestly do not know.
All right. Well, listen. Thanks for all you've done. It was a disappointment, unfortunately, how the state went. But it's good news on the federal side.
It is.
So I just wanted to give my 2 cents.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it, Frank. And I think that we moved the needle. And in terms of kind of figuring out where we go from here, and I said on the radio with Mike Bradley earlier this week, it is incumbent upon me as the leader of the Delaware Republican Party, to be reflective, to look at it and say, okay, what could we have done better? What did we, our goal was to drive turnout. We did it. 75% statewide is an incredible, I think it should be 100%, but the reality is normally Republicans are at about 50%. Yeah. So to get to 75 is fantastic. We have to build on that, and we have to win the hearts and minds of the unaffiliated voters. And so there's a lot of work to be done, but I think that because we're going to have Republicanism at the national level and be able to contrast it to Delaware, because what Delaware has coming ain't pretty, people. It's just not. I can tell you right now. This is, I firmly believe that where Matt Meyer is going to take this state is going to make John Carney look like he was conservative. Mark my words.
No,
but we're going to be able to do something with that.
Yeah. All right. Well, Julianne, thank you much. Thank you for your time, and have a great day.
You're very welcome, Frank. I appreciate the phone call. All right, any other calls on the board? Okay, so I've got about 3 minutes. So let's talk about let's talk about some law stuff. What the heck? I do think that certainly there are questions about what's going to happen with the lawfare in terms of nationally. And I need people to understand the difference between criminal versus civil and the difference between state law versus federal law. It is not as simple as a stroke of the pen where Trump can, or anybody on behalf of Trump can tell New York that they have to drop these cases. I do think that would be interesting to see, but there was already a motion to dismiss in front of Juan Merchan, or I don't know that it was a motion to dismiss, but there was a motion before the sentencing that, challenging the case. He may very well revisit that and decide, what, we should, because it is just not in anybody's best interest that they go forward with that sentencing. They certainly cannot put President Trump, President-elect Trump, in jail. Cannot. That just is just not going to happen. And I think one would think that they've learned their lesson, that lawfare didn't work. It didn't cost him the election. If anything, it emboldened him and his popularity, because people, the moves that happened, and a lot of the demographics are looking at him going, okay, wow, look at what they're trying to do to this guy. The Letitia James case is totally different. It's a civil case. And civil, a sitting president can be subject to civil subpoenas and civil actions. That has already been adjudicated. There's a pending appeal there before the New York's, the appellate level there, again, challenging the law under which that case was decided. Let's remember, the judge, Erdogan, or whatever his name is, it's escaping me, something close to it, has been overturned a bunch of times. I think this is going to be yet another one where it's going to be overturned. The law in that case was so flawed in terms of the hybrid that they were using with federal law and state law, and there's just a lot in that case. And then in terms of the amount of money that we were talking about from a damages standpoint was very, very significant. I think we've got a phone call. Let me grab it right at the top of the hour. All right, let's go ahead. Caller, what's your name and where are you calling from?
It's Father John.
Hey, Father John, how can I help you?
Well, I'm going to give you some kudos because you did a good job, and it's round one of a fight that's going to continue. That's what I see. But you did a good job, and we all did a good job, and we're still learning how we can get better. And that's going to take a little bit of time, maybe a few more rounds, and we'll make it not perfect, but as good as it can be.
Okay. And I appreciate that, and I think that it is... we made a measurable change. You can absolutely, and again, I have thick skin. You can't do what I do and not have thick skin. I know that there are people out there saying that I should resign because we didn't win any statewide seats, and okay. 75% turnout was my response, and they're not squawking quite as loud as they were because nobody else has done that. So it was a team effort, and we worked darn hard. So thank you very much for the phone call. We're through the first hour. You are listening to 92.7 and 98.5, and that is the talk of Delmarva.
every day with news, talk, and sports. Over 40 years strong. 92.7 WGMD, Rehoboth Beach, Ocean City.
I'm Ted Lindner, Fox News. The search for the second Trump administration's cabinet is now on. Fox's Chanley Painter breaking down the short list.
President-elect Trump's transition team already vetting potential candidates to fill his cabinet come January. A source to Fox Digital confirming that Representative Mike Rogers serves as the chairman of the Armed Services Committee has been contacted by Trump's team for the Secretary of Defense position. Other potential candidates include Florida Representative Mike Walz and former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo. But Florida Senator Marco Rubio and Tennessee Senator Bill Hagerty are likely contenders for Secretary of State, while North Dakota Governor Doug Burgum is reportedly being considered for head of the Department of Energy.
The president-elect has already selected Susie Wiles as his chief of staff. She was a major player through all of his campaigns. President-elect Trump picking up the state of Nevada this morning. The Democrats held a Senate seat there. Fox's Chris DeMeo with more.
Jackie Rosen wins election to a U.S. Senate seat in Nevada. Rosen fending off a fierce challenge from Republican Sam Brown, the Democrat campaigning on lowering costs for the middle class, defending abortion rights, and tackling the climate crisis. Meantime, President-elect Trump now has won Nevada, putting 6 more electoral votes in his column. It's the first time Republicans carried the state since 2004 when President George W. Bush won. Chris DeMeo, Fox News.
Next up is Arizona, where there's still hundreds of thousands of ballots left to count. However, President-elect Trump expanded his margin over Harris in the race for the state's 11 electoral votes. At President Biden's invitation, President Biden and President-elect Trump will be meeting in the Oval Office on Wednesday, that according to a White House spokesperson. And Iran denying involvement in President-elect Donald Trump's assassination plot, the Foreign Ministry dismissing a report released by the Department of Justice on Friday. America's listening to Fox News.
Source 92.7 and 98.5 WGMD, the talk of Delmarva.
President Biden is spending the weekend in Rehoboth Beach at his North Shores Beach House. I'm Mary Lou in the newsroom for the talk of Delmarva. The president arrived on Marine One Friday evening. He will leave Sunday afternoon. The president has no public schedule today, but will likely attend a church service. Maryland State Police have identified the 2 people who died in a single-vehicle crash east of Cambridge last Sunday evening. 54-year-old Shankar Mondal was driving the vehicle. 37-year-old Koil Dasgupta was a passenger. Both are from Salisbury. A 1-year-old girl was flown to Johns Hopkins Pediatric Hospital for treatment. The investigation is ongoing. A Greenwood man has been arrested after leading Delaware State Police on a pursuit in the Lincoln area Tuesday evening. Police checked on a stopped vehicle, but the driver drove off, then refused to stop. He was seen tossing items from the window before he pulled into a parking lot and was arrested. Police have charged 56-year-old Richard Boyd with multiple drug offenses. Residents in the Sharptown area are being warned that a skunk found in the area of the 800 block of State Street has tested positive for rabies. Residents should be aware of their surroundings and avoid any contact with wild or stray animals. The national average for a gallon of gasoline fell 3 cents over the past week to $3.09. In Delaware, the price at the pump dropped 2 cents last week to $2.95. If you drive an electric vehicle, the average cost for a kilowatt of electricity at an L2 commercial charging station in Delaware is 31 cents. That is unchanged from a week ago. The national average also is unchanged at 34 cents. AAA Mid-Atlantic officials say Hurricane Rafael has slowed pump prices as the storm threatens Gulf oil production and refining. However, once the storm passes, the price at the pump should regain its downward momentum.
WGMD AccuWeather.
Mostly partly sunny skies for the rest of the afternoon, then increasing clouds tonight with a low of 36 to 48. For Sunday, mostly cloudy skies, a chance for some showers mainly at night with a high of 63. And for Monday, milder with partial sunshine and a high of 70. I'm Mary Lou for 92.7 and 98.5, the talk of Delmarva.
Can't make it to the local school board meeting, the town council meeting, or the big game? The Star will be there. For the past 26 years, the Seaford and Laurel Star has been there, covering the Western Sussex communities. Subscribe to the Star today to keep informed with what's going on in your community. Call 302-629-9788 Monday through Thursday, or visit starpublications.online to subscribe to these award-winning publications. Reach for the stars. Every year, there's a growing need for children of all ages to find secure and safe families. November is National Adoption Month, and while bringing awareness about adoption, it also helps individuals and families to understand the process and learn more about adoption. Here in the U.S., the first adoption laws weren't passed until 1851. This month acknowledges the commitment and rewards combined with an adoptive family. For more information, go to the Community Outreach under the Extras tab at thetalkofdelmarva.com.
Welcome back to Tipping the Scales of Justice. Julianne Murray live in studio. We are in our second hour. Phone numbers 302-945-9292 or 800-518-9292. You can also go online to industrynewsonline.com and submit questions electronically. I don't think I have any calls on the board right now, so go ahead and call in with questions. Otherwise, I just have to keep picking random legal topics. One last thing that I didn't finish at the top of the last hour, or at the whatever, before we took our little break there, was that the difference between civil and criminal. So the Letitia James posturing that is happening there is, frankly, anybody who's looking at body language and her speech and her demeanor, I think she's very nervous, and she's instead just saying, no, we're going to do everything that we can, whatever. They're going to have a difficult time with that case, and in terms of how the judge came to the conclusion that he did. I actually misspoke. I know everybody's going to be very shocked to hear that. When I said that it was a hybrid of state law and federal law, the criminal case that Mershon is presiding over is the hybrid one between state and federal law. The case that Letitia James was involved in was New York law, but the findings of fact and the fact that it was a bench trial, which in civil cases you don't necessarily have the same right to a trial by jury. They did that by statute. Is that constitutional? There's a whole lot of different things there, but I mean, people are just there's gonna be a distraction. It's just the Trump derangement syndrome is real. The people and they lost a lot of ground on Tuesday night. So for me, for a lot of us, faith in the American people, everybody showed up, and it is a tremendous win. We cannot get cocky. We have to be very, very vigilant and worried about Trump making it to the inauguration. Straight up, there are people, the fact that everybody is like, oh, there's going to be a peaceful transfer of power. In fact, they're already putting out articles about all of the conversations that are happening in the background. In fact, when the Secretary of Defense put something out earlier this week assuring that there was going to be a peaceful transfer of power and that, they would follow all lawful orders, I looked at Pat and I went, okay, here we go. They're going to, there's going to be something that happens here. So unfortunately, we're not done with the lunacy, but we are in a lot better position than we were on Tuesday or Monday, and so there's that. All right, so shifting off of political law and going to a there it went. It was there for a second. Okay, so Walt said, from a financial perspective, now that the elections are over, what happens to all the donations to candidates? And I'm not sure if this question is talking about donations to candidates that didn't get spent. So if there's money that, oh, look, I've got it. Yeah, the money that the candidates had. I don't think, first of all, that there's very much, and we're talking about federal versus state. So I can tell you in the state, the candidates spent their money and did everything that they could. Generally, when a donation is sent to a candidate, there is no requirement that it be sent back if it's not used. You give it up when you send it. And so some candidates, particularly ones that, whether it's state or federal, keep that money. They still have to keep it in a campaign account. They still have to account for it. But particularly anybody who runs for a House election keeps that money because basically they are constantly campaigning. The fact that the House races are every 2 years, any money that was left unspent after the election will just roll to the next one. And even if you have, for instance, you do a change in office, as long as you had campaign funds for one, if you open a new candidate committee, you can lawfully move that money. So there's, I don't know how much that each candidate has, whether they spent it all, but I certainly know that the Democrats overspent $20 million, and I think that number is actually going to be bigger than that. That's just the preliminary one. All those concerts that they did on Monday night when they really didn't have the money to do it is kind of hilarious. The other thing that is hilarious is that they waited till Monday night when 50% of the electorate had already voted. Let that sink in. We were very worried heading in that Republicans were not going to embrace early voting. And not only did we embrace it, we outvoted the Democrats in a lot of cases. But going into election today, almost 50% of the electorate had already voted. So very funny. And it worked in our favor. So let's go to the phone lines. Caller, you are on the air. What's your name and where are you calling from?
This is Nellie from Lewis.
Hey, Nellie.
Congratulations for the 75% turnaround in Delaware.
Thank you.
And I know that we are still way behind.
Yep.
Too many more Democrats are moving to Delaware, and we have to see how we're going to combat that. But what I wanted to say is that with the administration we're going to have in Delaware, and the administration that is being the nation with states that never thought it was Trump was going to win, Delaware, if they do what they always do, is going to be showing like a sore thumb.
Yep.
In the
100%
nation.
agree.
They're going to show their unjust toward the people of Delaware that is a one-party rule and is not allowing this country anymore. So they're going to show what they are.
Yep.
Like they did in this election. People show that they don't want that. So Delaware, better be careful.
I totally agree with you, and I think that we're going to be able to actually shift voter registrations based on the contrast between what Delaware looks like and what the rest of the nation looks like.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you for letting me talk.
Not a problem, Nellie. Thank you so much for the phone call. Let's go to the phone lines. Caller, what's your name and where are you calling from?
Pat from Harrington.
Hey, Pat, how can I help you today?
Hey, you mentioned that about campaign finance fund that it rolls over. Now, and I don't know how it works at the federal or the state, but let's say someone doesn't get reelected and they decide to retire. Do they keep the money in their personal, or where does the money go?
That's a great question. And there are different rules for the FEC versus the state election law, state campaign finance. So it would make a difference whether it's a federal or a state candidate. In terms of refunds, if a person contributes to a campaign and wants a refund, the candidate has to do that. It is absolutely required that happen. However, generally, people are not demanding that they get their stuff back, and so there's a couple of different things that happen from if a candidate chooses not to run again. In many cases, the candidates have advanced money for various things to the campaign, so there are outstanding loans against the campaign that are recorded. I mean, these are disclosed loans. That the money. Let me put it this way: it's incredibly unusual for there to be money left in an account that can't be used for campaign expenses, up to and including a personal loan from the candidate to the campaign. So if somebody
Okay, but
retires,
if
they probably, I mean, at some point they've either carried loans on the books. I mean, most candidates end up advancing to their campaign. They just do. It's, you know, it's the nature of the beast, because when you start, you just, or at some point you just don't have enough money, but you got to be moving something along. I do believe that if somebody chose to retire, for instance, and had money in their campaign account, morally they should return it back to people, but whether they're actually obligated, I'm not certain about that.
So if there is a huge balance in there, they can pocket the money and walk away?
No. What I'm saying is that they will, let's see how to, you know, that they will document a way that they're not pocketing it personally. There's going to be expenses that they were unreimbursed for, but no, I do not think that somebody can personally take campaign funds and say, oop, they were left over and I'm taking these personally. No. What I'm saying is they'll figure out a way to make it a campaign expense.
Okay, because I've lived in a state one time where that was happening.
Well, and again, state versus federal does make a difference.
No, it was state. They would donate a lot of money, and then the politician would just say, thank you.
Well, and I mean, one of the other things that happens is a state campaign account, a candidate can use, instead of pocketing the money, can take the money and give it to another candidate. That happens too. Okay?
Okay, yeah, I'm just curious because that's a foggy area.
It is. Mushy is the good technical term. Appreciate the call, Pat. I know I got another caller on, but I want you to hang for a second. You are listening to 92.7 and 98.5, and that is the talk of Delmarva.
I'm Tom Holmes, 1776 Steakhouse in Rehoboth Beach. The restaurant's been here since 1987. I've had it since 2007. I get probably 2-3 customers a night that will come in and say, I heard you on the radio and it sounded great and we're so happy that you're advertising locally with local businesses. I used to do very limited advertising, just a little bit on newspapers and billboards and stuff like that, but now I'm pretty much exclusively just with the radio station. I advertise on Rehoboth Foodie Bob's show, and I also advertise different segments and different times during the course of the week. I've been pretty much with the same schedule for maybe about 10 years. I'm just happy I am advertising with them. They've been very loyal to us, and the feedback I get from my customers about the radio station is tremendous.
I'm Keith Pettit, an assistant manager here at Southern States Milford Cooperative in Milford, Delaware. My experience with WGMD radio station, Talk of Delmarva, has been outstanding. We do our once monthly radio show here in our showroom, and we instantly see results of people coming in that day and the following day and the weeks after saying, I heard about this on WGMD, the Talk of Delmarva. And not just at a close local level within a few miles, but it brings customers in from a fair distance to come and check out the products that we've talked about through the radio station advertising. But in my estimation, WGMD is the best talk radio station on Delmarva. People are in tune to hanging on every word that station says, and that transfers to the advertisers. The people that listen to WGMD listen to our advertisements word for word, and they know what they're looking for when they come in here as a result. I just think they're phenomenal. They do a great job.
My name is Karen. My husband and I own Captain's Pizza. We have been here for over 6 years, going on 7. We only advertise with WGMD. and we love it. They really help us with anything that we need. They always have good suggestions. They help me with the commercials. Advertising has helped our business tremendously. We do get a lot of people that come in and want to know who is talking on the radio, and I'm always here, so I'm always happy to say that it's me. We participate with Delmarva Dollars. A lot of customers bring them in. We have customers that ask when they're going to have them again if they don't hear it on the radio. We tried advertising in the newspaper and things like that, but we see more of a showing with the Delmarva Dollars. And the customers, they ask me, where else do we advertise? And I tell them, we only advertise with WGMD. We've been very successful with them. We get exactly what we ask for, and it's well worth the money that we invest in it.
Since 1980, WGMD Radio has been your local hometown station with everything from music to news to sports. We know a thing or two about community and longevity. The Talk of Delmarva is proud to be partnered with the White Marlin Open and congratulates them on 50 years.
Welcome back to Tipping the Scales of Justice. Julianne Murray live in studio taking your phone calls. The numbers are 302-945-9292 or 800-518-9292. You can also go online to IndustryNewsOnline.com and submit questions electronically. Let's go to the phone lines. Caller, what's your name and where are you calling from?
Julianne, this is Skip from Lewis. I heard you mention earlier that the Republican turnout was like 75%.
Yes.
How? What was the increase this election cycle over 2022?
We busted our you-know-whats.
I know you did.
Like, yeah. What's the actual number increase, or what do we attribute the increase to?
Well, the percentage increase.
I think it was we were just around 50% in 22. So so a 25% increase is definitely in play, and we actually beat 2020, where everything was skewed upward with the vote by mail ballots. In terms of why the increase happened, we put a tremendous amount of effort into getting out the vote, very coordinated with the counties, with our volunteers. One of the biggest things that we had was we have an app for the Republican Party, and within that app, you could open it up and say, I want to call, text, or knock doors of people, Republicans around me, and it would geolocate to where you are located and give you the names of 10 or 15 Republicans right next door in your neighborhood if you wanted to touch base with them. We used that for outreach to our low propensity voters. We very much targeted low propensity Republicans. I publicly said, I don't want to spend 5 cents on a high propensity. Somebody who votes in every election is going to show up and vote. So let's spend our critical dollars on those low propensity voters. And so between the app, text messages, direct outreach, we did streaming commercials, we did a lot of different things. But I mean, in terms of that, it's a huge jump in turnout, and it was a very, very big team effort.
Well, that is a tremendous accomplishment. While some of the candidates did not fare as well as we thought they were going to. But I just want to express to you that I can see the difference between 20 and 22 since you've taken over as chair of the Delaware Republican Party. And it is greatly appreciated. And if this is what has happened since you've become chair, we only have a lot of, the future is very bright for us.
I appreciate that, Skip.
I wish the District 6 and District 14 and 20 will turn out more successful the next election cycle.
Well, and let's talk about that for a second. And that is and we're going to we don't have the final numbers. I don't have the final voter file yet because the Department of Elections was busy this week dealing with the Board of Canvass in all 3 counties. But I've pushed the commissioner, get me that list so that we can start driving into the numbers district by district and see who voted, because one of the things that Sussex County, and this is, it quote unquote used to be very red, very red representative districts, very Republican. That's not the case anymore. So when Valerie Jones Giltner ran in the 37th last December, in the special election, it was roughly a third, and a third. And the Senate District 20 and Representative District 14 and 20 are not purely, have a very, very large Democrat and independent population. So as a party, we have to mobilize our base and get our base out, but we also have to be talking to people who are not registered Republicans and getting them to basically see we've got good policies, we've got things that are worth voting for our candidates. And I mean, our candidates, our candidates did a tremendous job trying to convince their people that they should be the winners of these elections. And I have nothing, not a negative word to say about the effort that our candidates put in. But one of the things that we found in this election is that Democrats vote for Democrats. And so with a huge number of 353,000 registered Democrats in this state, that's, if their default is I'm going to automatically vote for a Democrat, that's a huge hill. So we have to now start looking at, just like the Democrats nationally are having to look at their messaging and go, why did we get our what's handed to us? Because their messaging stunk and they didn't understand what drove people. We have to look in Delaware at Delaware Democrats and say, okay, are there any that we can kind of pluck over to the more, what I consider to be the more reasonable policies, as opposed to the kind of progressive socialist move that has been happening with what's coming up in January between the Delaware House and Senate and the new governor. I think that we're going to have a huge contrast between what's happening in Delaware, the clamping, all of the different progressive kind of crazy policies are coming, and nationally it's going to be steering away from that. I think that contrast is going to be beneficial for us going forward.
Yeah, the only suggestion I can make is I was on the website every day, and there was just so much on it, and you kind of got lost in it. But there was an actual section that goes through each district, or look up the candidate by name and look at their campaign and look what they stand for. You kind of it was hard to find, because I'm a member of a club, and I sent out the information to them about the candidates in their specific in their district and stuff, and they had a hard time navigating that off the site. Yep. And I think things need to be better organized in the site, or make it user friendly for people to find that information. That's the only suggestion
I'll take
I
that.
can make for you.
Yeah, I mean, I think that as much as, again, I'm happy about the statewide turnout number, there are absolutely things that need to be improved, and we were working incredibly hard. We came in at a deficit in terms of structure, money, all of these things that and spent the first year just trying to kind of get things locked down. I mean, I'm not sure that everybody knows, but not everybody was happy I was elected as the chair, and we dealt with a whole lot, and are still dealing with people that just absolutely do not like me as the chair, and instead of either getting on board and kind of or being quiet, are actually being noisy obstructors. Whatever. I mean, that's it is what it is.
Well, Rome wasn't built in a day.
It was
but
not.
I tell you what, you have opened the door, and you're running through to the second door.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
I appreciate it.
All right. Thank you so much. Have a great day. Let's go to the phone lines. Caller, you are on the air. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Hey, Julian, this is Joel. I think my question might segue a little bit into what you were just talking about.
Okay.
So my question is about this electric vehicle mandate.
Okay.
Now that Trump's in, or will be in, and you said this new governor's going to make John Carney look conservative. What's to say he won't have any change on the mandate? Because it all lies with the governor, correct?
Oh, it
for
does.
Delaware?
Yeah. So Trump may federally do stuff about any kind of, so there's two different I'm going to use the word sets of EV mandates out there. There was the federal Green New Deal stuff that was going on that had to do with federal law, and then there's state law. The EV quote-unquote mandate that we have in Delaware is under state law, and anything that changes federally does not necessarily impact Delaware. And so the issue from a Delaware standpoint is it didn't even go through the legislative process. I think it would pass if it did go through the legislative process because of how progressive the General Assembly is. But Kearney didn't even bother going through the General Assembly. This was done by DNRA. So if you want to hang on, you can. Right. I can't stay. The music means I got to step away, but you're welcome to hang on. If not, I'll finish talking about this at the bottom of the hour. You are listening to 92.7 and 98.5, and that is the Talk of Delmarva.
Hi, I'm Mary Beth Hutton from Rehoboth Beach Running Company. We've been in this location for about 8 years, and we've been in business for about 16 years. We're pretty much busy every day, all year round now. Since we've been advertising with the Talk of Delmarva, everywhere we go, people seem to know about us. I like working with other small businesses. We work with a lot of small businesses, and advertising is no different. And we like for people to come in and actually see our store. Yeah. So when people from the Talk of Delmarva have seen our store, they understand it better. Some of their other customers shop at our store, and it's really a small town kind of life. And people shop local, advertise local, listen to the local radio. It all kind of comes full circle. So how has the marketing department helped us? Well, I love that she's always looking ahead at the calendar, because as a small business person, I'm very busy and I'm kind of thinking of last minute things. And so Laura's always ready for the sidewalk sale. She knows it's a big deal for us. And so you want to get the word out a little bit early. And the sidewalk sale this year was better than ever. And I think it's in great part to Laura's planning and the commercials, so people know that the whole town is having a sidewalk sale and that we have big sales at that time of year. I didn't really know what to expect in the beginning, because I didn't know whether she'd know our business. I don't know if she would know runners and all about, but she listens very carefully and she researches and she really tries to gear our ads towards our business, and she does an excellent job. I think people really more now than ever want to shop local. I think people want to support local businesses and help the community. And so when people know that we are a small business that meets their needs, they'd rather shop here than go online or some other way. So I think people really want to help themselves and help the community. We have attracted our ideal customer at the Talk of Delmarva. We service people from, 12 years old or even younger to 95-year-olds. So yeah, I think our ads are doing a great job of bringing customers to us. The Talk of Delmarva advertising has helped with our marathon also. So I organized the Rehoboth Marathon and Half Marathon in December, and we sell out earlier and earlier every year. And I think that's due in part to advertising with the Talk of Delmarva. The people know that we have a running store and that we also have this big race at a great time of year, and people sign up earlier and earlier every year. I really do believe that the return on investment is huge. I think we definitely got return on our investment quickly. Every dollar spent was well worth it. I would highly recommend for other businesses to advertise on the Talk of Delmarva. It's been a great experience for us. It's been very worthwhile, and I would highly recommend it to other businesses.
I'm Tom Holmes, 1776 Steakhouse in Rehoboth Beach. The restaurant's been here since 1987. I've had it since 2007. I get probably 2-3 customers a night that will come in and say, I heard you on the radio and it sounded great, and we're so happy that you're advertising locally with local businesses. I used to do very limited advertising. just a little bit on newspapers and billboards and stuff like that, but now I'm pretty much exclusively just with the radio station. I advertise on Rehoboth Foodie Bob's show, and I also advertise different segments and different times during the course of the week. I've been pretty much with the same schedule for maybe about 10 years. I'm just happy I am advertising with them. They've been very loyal to us, and the feedback I get from my customers about the radio station is tremendous.
Back to Tipping the Scales of Justice. Julianne Murray live in studio. We're in our last 25 minutes or thereabouts. Phone numbers 302-945-9292 or 800-518-9292. You can also go online to industrynewsonline.com and submit questions electronically. Let's go to the phone lines. Caller, thanks for waiting. You are on the air. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Yes, this is Brian, and I wanted to know, as far as the election in Delaware, by county, how did Trump do by the counties? I know I couldn't find that information. Do you have that information?
You know, I don't. I know he won Sussex, and I'm honestly, and of course the computers are running incredibly slow. I mean, he did not win Newcastle. I'm sure everybody is shocked about that. Let me find out, and I can update, once I pull that up. But if I had to guess, I would say that, and the other thing is that there was, if it was even close in Kent with the addition of the ballots, there's about 3,500 ballots that were added. I know that flipped the governor race, not flipped it for the state, but flipped it for the county. Let me see, as I'm doing this, if it'll actually open it statewide.
Did win Sussex County.
Yeah, I know he won Sussex County. Let me look. So, by county, there we go. So, Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, let's look. Okay, so he won Sussex by about 15,000 votes. He lost Kent by about 1,500 votes and lost Newcastle by about 90,000 votes. Now, bear something in mind. When I give those numbers, they're actually half that. So so when there's a 90,000 vote gap, that's really 45,000 votes, because if they came out of the Kamala Walz column and went into the Trump column, that's how it shifts. So realistically, in Kent County, at the roughly 2,000, it's really only about 1,000 votes in Kent County, and in Sussex, a good win.
I wanted to also ask you your opinion of between now and Inauguration Day. As far as Trump's safety, don't you think that maybe he should try to stay out of the public light for the time from now until inauguration?
Yes. And you'll know, I mean, so he's actually already kind of not quite as public as he was prior to Election Day. And I also think that you will not see he and J.D. Vance together. We've got, and so I do think he will be doing so. I mean, he's going to go to the White House to have lunch with Biden. That ought to be fun.
The problem is a lot of these people that are at the top of some of these three-letter agencies have a lot more to lose, I think, than just their job. And until he has control of these agencies, I'm concerned about his safety.
All of us are. I think that is, I pray he's aware of it. I gotta believe he is. But I don't. There are many of us that don't trust the Secret Service. I'm not saying there aren't good Secret Service agents out there. There are, but I think everybody's concerned about his safety. And I mean, when you see the moves that have happened on the world stage in 2 days in reaction to the fact that he is the president-elect, there's a whole lot of people out there that are sweating this change. And so, yeah, exactly. I think that his safety is absolutely a big deal, and I do not think that we're going to see him in the unsecured public very much. I'm even worried about the inauguration.
Have you heard the rumors about Pompeo getting a possible position in his administration, or is there any truth to that, or don't you know?
I don't know. I mean, bear something in mind. They are. There's going to be all sorts of things being tossed around. I think that for Trump, he learned a very valuable lesson in 2016. He played the game. He didn't do mass change outs. He wanted to. There were all sorts of things. I mean, up to and including his vice presidential choice of Mike Pence. Was trying to appease somebody. There is nobody that he has to appease in 2024. He is absolutely going to surround himself with 100% loyalists.
Totally frame of mind, as far as people and influencing him from the inside of Washington than what he did on the first term.
Yeah, no, he's going to surround himself with loyalists, and they're going to look back at every person where they were in the grand scheme of things, and things that they did, things that they've done, and I think that he will only choose people that he believes are absolutely have his back.
Well, I just hope that he does enough to stay out of any kind of chance of any kind of any more attempts on him like in the past.
Yeah, no, I as do all of us. It is absolutely imperative that he is inaugurated on January 20th. Absolutely imperative.
Even if they had to do it by some kind of a video thing instead of him even doing it live, I just don't want to see anything happen to him.
Well, it is something interesting that, and I think that they're going to, so as I said earlier, there are rumors that there are back channel conversations even at the Pentagon talking about how to avoid orders from Trump. This is just, the swamp is deep. We all know that. If there is a chance that something is going to happen to him constitutionally, he has to be sworn in at noon on January 20th, period. It does not say constitutionally that it has to be open and in public. So, worst case scenario, they do they swear him in with the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court in the White House, in the Capitol. So it does not have to be open and outside the way that it has historically been. So we'll see.
Exactly. And that doesn't present the opportunity for any shenanigans to go on in the crowds like they did on the January 6th.
Totally agree. Well, and as a side note, just because I mentioned the inauguration, it's kind of funny how many text messages I've gotten from people who think that I have a direct connection to President Trump asking for inauguration tickets. And it's like, we did a conference call yesterday with the RNC, and they haven't even formed the inaugural committee yet because they wanted to they put every resource to getting this man elected. So the legal ramifications and all the stuff that you have to do for an inaugural committee and all of that is happening, will start happening next week. But this week, the lawyers are still fighting in Arizona and Pennsylvania and Nevada. So
how does Arizona justify taking this length of time to come up with the votes when everybody else does it in less than a 24-hour period? What's their justification for
There isn't one. There isn't one. And, oh, by the way, blame Governor Katie Hobbs, who, by the way, didn't really beat Carrie Lake, but that's a whole other story. But the legislature put forth a bill that would have made it so that this, would have changed the election laws so that this kind of garbage couldn't happen. And but she vetoed it. So I'm not up to speed enough on Arizona law to know exactly what the holdup is. I do know that part of the holdup is actually playing in our favor right now because there is an opportunity to cure ballots, and the Republicans are working that much more than the Democrats are right now. So now the Democrats have figured out, oh my gosh, the Republicans had a ground game to cure the ballots. And what I mean by cure is if somebody fills it in, forgets to sign it, something that is not, it's not fraud. It's just people can't follow basic instructions. There's a period to cure that. We have a heck of a ground game in Arizona that's taking care of that. So now the Democrats are scampering, trying to extend the cure period because they have figured out, we are gaining ground there, that Carrie Lake is much more in that Senate race than anybody thought she was going to be. It's very close.
Well, we all thought she was going to be in it in a great way, but not if they had their way.
Right. Well, and so we've got, the amount of resources on the ground in Arizona right now is phenomenal.
Okay, well, you've answered all my questions, and I'd like to thank you for everything that you've done for everyone in your attempts to try to, get the right people in office in this state. But we're going to keep trying, and everybody, I'm sure, is appreciative of everything that you've done.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much, Brian. Have a great day. All right,
You
let's
too.
go.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm going to go ahead and go to the phone lines, and I may have to step away for a second, but let's pick up the call. Caller, what's your name and where are you calling from?
This is Carolyn from Lewis.
Hey, Carolyn, how can I help you?
First of all, thank you for all that you do. I do have a couple questions specific to Sussex County.
Okay.
I worked on a county campaign, and when I look at the results from the Department of Elections,
yes,
Trump did win in Sussex County over Harris.
Yep.
But I'm wondering why some of that success didn't filter down to some of the county candidates.
Great
Do you
question.
have a feel for that?
I do. And so one of the things that happens, and I'll tell you what, can you hang on for a second, because it's a great question, but I'm right at my kind of last quarter hour. Can you hang on for me for a second?
Yes, I can.
Okay, please do. Thank you. You're listening to 92.7 and 98.5, and that is the talk of Delmarva.
I'm Tom Holmes, 1776 Steakhouse in Rehoboth Beach. The restaurant's been here since 1987. I've had it since 2007. I get probably 2-3 customers a night that will come in and say, I heard you on the radio and it sounded great, and we're so happy that you're advertising locally with local businesses. I used to do very limited advertising, just a little bit on newspapers and billboards and stuff like that, but now I'm pretty much exclusively just with the radio station. I advertise on Rehoboth Foodie Bob's show, and I also advertise different segments and different times during the course of the week. I've been pretty much with the same schedule for maybe about 10 years. I'm just happy I am advertising with them. They've been very loyal to us, and the feedback I get from my customers about the radio station is tremendous.
I'm Keith Pettit, an assistant manager here at Southern States Milford Cooperative in Milford, Delaware. My experience with WGMD radio station, Talk of Delmarva, has been outstanding. We do our once monthly radio show here in our showroom, and we instantly see results of people coming in that day and the following day and the weeks after saying, I heard about this on WGMD, the Talk of Delmarva. And not just at a close local level within a few miles, but it brings customers in from a fair distance to come and check out the products that we've talked about through the radio station advertising. But in my estimation, WGMD is the best talk radio station on Delmarva. People are in tune to hanging on every word that station says, and that transfers to the advertisers. The people that listen to WGMD listen to our advertisements word for word, and they know what they're looking for when they come in here as a result. I just think they're phenomenal. They do a great job.
My name is Karen. My husband and I own Captain's Pizza. We have been here for over 6 years, going on 7. We only advertise with WGMD, and we love it. They really help us with anything that we need. They always have good suggestions. They help me with the commercials. Advertising has helped our business tremendously. We do get a lot of people that come in and want to know who is talking on the radio, and I'm always here, so I'm always happy to say that it's me. We participate with Delmarva Dollars. A lot of customers bring them in. We have customers that ask when they're going to have them again if they don't hear it on the radio. We tried advertising in the newspaper and things like that, but we see more of a showing with the Delmarva Dollars. And the customers, they ask me, where else do we advertise? And I tell them, we only advertise with WGMD. We've been very successful with them. We get exactly what we ask for, and it's well worth the money that we invest in it.
Since 1980, WGMD Radio has been your local hometown station with everything from music to news to sports. We know a thing or two about community and longevity. The Talk of Delmarva is proud to be partnered with the White Marlin Open and congratulates them on 50 years.
Welcome back to Tipping the Scales of Justice. Julianne Murray, live in studio. We got about 11 minutes left, and I was on the phone with Carolyn. Carolyn, are you still there?
Yes, I am.
All right, so the question is that when we talk about, for instance, the presidential election and the numbers for Sussex County for Donald Trump, how come those votes didn't necessarily transfer to other races within the county, right?
Correct.
Okay. Couple of different things that happen here. So number one is something that's called an undervote. And basically what an undervote is that you have the ballot, you have all of the elections on there. There are people in a presidential election that show up just to vote for the president. So, and they will go in, their ballot is only the presidential election. They don't care or know about anything else. They vote for that and they leave. The other thing that happens is they will vote only the federal races. So they'll vote for the president, Senate, Congress, maybe the governor, but there's a drop off between the federal elections and the state elections that is just kind of a natural thing that happens. In terms of the county races, so for instance, depending on, so like a county-wide race, for instance, the only county-wide one that I saw was the clerk of the peace, Jay Jones, running unopposed. Had 104,000 votes, I think is what I saw, when there are 145,000 cast in Sussex County in the presidential race between Trump and Kamala Harris.
Right.
So now in that one, not a big deal. No one's running against him. You know, people just went ahead and clicked the box and no big deal. But in, for instance, county council elections, those are now not truly countywide, therefore a particular district within. And so now you have the difference between Republican, Democrat, and and unaffiliated, and where, so even though Trump had 80,000 votes at the county council level, there can be a distinction where somebody could technically vote for President Trump, but then at the county council level not do that. Say they know who the candidate is and they choose to vote for somebody else. So there's a lot of different things. The biggest thing that drives it is, again, what are called these undervotes, where people just they don't know who the candidate is, and so they choose. And I don't know which is more dangerous, frankly. The person who just goes ahead and votes for everybody who has no idea who they are, or the person who says, I'm not going to vote for them because I don't know who they are, and just doesn't cast a vote at all. Both of those are a problem. And it's incumbent upon us as a party and upon the candidates to make sure that when people go in there, they go, oh, I know who that person is, and they feel invested and want to vote for them.
Right. Right. Yeah, I can appreciate that. I know that working on the campaign, the candidates spend a lot of time trying to get out and meet people and shake hands and lip drop, and but I can understand psychologically, or common sense tells you that could happen. But it's just it was just such a huge disappointment after so much work. So, but I appreciate that answer.
Well, and I want to thank you. Thank you for volunteering.
Can I ask one other quick question?
Go, you're fine. But before we go there, I just want to make sure that, to you and to anybody else who volunteered to work for a candidate or for that is, I can tell you from having run statewide twice, volunteers are what make the world go round. And without volunteers, we can't get it done because the candidate can't do everything. So you are the volunteers are the lifeblood of the political party. And so thank you for being willing to do that, because a lot of people will sit on the sidelines, complain about where things are going, and not do anything to help, be a part of the solution instead of part of the problem. So thank you very much for doing that. Now, go on to your next thing.
You're welcome, and thank you. That was a subject of conversation on many times. How many people have a comment, but yet when you call them to come in and do something, it's like, oh, no, I'm sorry, I'm too busy today. But anyway, that's not the question.
Go.
The other question is just an observation I've had. I've worked on the last 3 general elections for different people, and when I look at the results, the results from Republican to Democrat almost always seem the same in the same area. The Republicans usually finish in the low 40s, and the Democrats tend to finish in the high 50s. And what strikes me so much about this election is there were some candidates who I thought were strong, and there were some candidates, again, I'm talking about the county level.
Okay.
There were some candidates who I thought were not very strong at all, but they still wind up in those same percentages. It makes me wonder how year after year it's the Republicans finish, regardless of the strength of the candidate, in the low 40% and the Democrats in the high 50s. Is that anything you've observed or have a comment about?
100% observed it. And so there's a couple of different things. And it's interesting because it has shifted. It used to be that Republicans couldn't break 39. It was forever. It was 39 and 61. And and then in 22, I broke 46. And so did several other people below me on the ballot. So what happens is, so there's a couple of things that, one is a legitimate observation and a reason for why it happens. And then the other, what you're asking, I can tell you, I stood in Wilmington on Tuesday night and said, look, these are the results, but the numbers bother me because there were candidates who absolutely worked it, and there should have been a difference in some of these races instead of everything looking almost the same. So part of the reason that you see very similar results is straight ticket voters. And I was one this year. And so you go in and they've done away with where you can check the box at the top and it grabs everything down ballot. They make you actually hit every one. But there were, particularly on the Republican side, a lot of people that voted straight ticket, in which case, if they voted straight ticket down the Republican side, all of the Republican candidates would be real close in what happened. Where that doesn't make sense is that particularly in the county elections or more representative district elections, the numbers should have been different because there are independents and there are Democrats that are also voting for those candidates just by the very nature of the beast. They've done the door knocking, they've made the contacts, and so you are asking a question that I have definitely thought about. I do not have proof. If I did, it would be a totally different ball game. But
I'm sure you would act on it. Yes, yes.
100% yes. But the whole kind of machine thing, and what happens there is, these numbers do. Anecdotally, what I can say is the numbers do not match what we were hearing on the ground. And what I mean by that is that now anecdotally is exactly what I said. It's that just means an observation. People lie all the time about who they're going to vote for, and then go in and in this case that actually benefited Trump. There's a whole lot of people who said, "Oh God, I'm not going to vote for him," and then totally went in and voted for him. But the reverse is also true. So when somebody is standing on the doorstep and the person says, "No, I'm definitely voting for you," the candidate walks away, they close the door, and they just didn't have the nerve to say to the candidate, "I'm not voting for you," to their face. So people do lie. But as a general comment, there were an awful lot of our candidates who were reporting back to us that everybody, independents, Democrats, and Republicans, were going to vote straight ticket Republican. I can tell you, having talked to Mike Ramone on election night before the results came out, like we had crunched the numbers. We were looking at this percentage of Democrats, this percentage of unaffiliated, and it just did not play out that way. And so I don't know. Certainly, if we moved to paper ballots, I think that it would appease some of the skepticism about the machines. I certainly would be in favor of that, but that's just it's a state issue, and right now the party that's in power continues to be in power, and they have absolutely no incentive to make changes to any of this stuff.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. One that's really quick yes or no question. As a registered voter, Am I able to go to the Department of Elections and look at my ballot to be sure my ballot was registered as I chose it?
No.
No. Okay.
So what, and I'm just curious, did you absentee vote, early vote, or machine vote?
Early vote.
Okay. So with the early, so what happens is the ballots. All right. So I'm going to give you the official answer, and then I'm going to give you the what I really believe answer. Okay. So the official answer is secret ballots. Okay. And so after 2020, I can't tell you how many phone calls and text messages I took from people saying I want to prove that I voted for President Trump, and it's like you can't, because the machines are. This is true. Absentee ballots are separated from their envelopes. Early votes and machine votes are on those ballot cards. We all saw them. Boom. Nobody knows who you voted for. Now, here's the skeptic in me. There's a barcode at the top. They hand you that ballot, and that barcode, whether it's unique or not, who knows? So is it possible for them to know how a particular person voted? Yeah. Do they say that it's possible? Absolutely not. And there is no way to otherwise do it. Okay?
Okay.
All right.
Okay. Thank you very much. How long is your term as the state chair?
My term is up this coming April of 2025. So thank you very much for the call, Carolyn. I got to scoot. Thanks for everybody with all the questions today. This is Tipping the Scales of Justice. I'm Julianne Murray. You are listening to 92.7 and 98.5, and that is the talk of Delmarva.
92.7 WGMD Rehoboth Beach.